Dave with Mile High Campers coming back at you again with another video. Today I'm going to be showing you step by step how I installed a Superlift 2-inch rear block kit for a 2011 to 2016 Ford F250 and F350. As always guys, the link for this kit will be in the description below. Be sure to check out our other links to our website as well. I don't want to waste any of your time, but before we get into this video, let me explain real quick what I have going on with this installation series. This video will be the installation of a 2.5-inch lift kit for the rear of the truck. My previous video, link right here, will be the installation of the front 2.5-inch leveling kit. And the third video will be a combination of this video and the second video for the complete installation of the Superlift 2.5-inch leveling kit for a 2011 to 2016 Ford F250s. In the third video, I will be showing before and after pictures along with 3 different tire sizes, 2 different wheel sizes, and measurement comparisons for all stages. So be sure to tune in for that video. Now guys, I'm not a certified mechanic. I'm not telling you this is the only way to do this installation or my way's the right way. I'm just sharing my experience and how I was able to do it. And if you get something out of it, great. If not, no big deal. All right, let's get into it. All right, first things first here, guys. I got the front wheels blocked. I then jacked the truck up and lowered it onto 6-ton jack stands. I've got them positioned here on the leaf spring. Then I've got a second set of jack stands here in the back that are on the hitch, just for safety purposes, and then I've got the floor jack underneath the axle. All right, so the first step, I'm going to get these little clips off of the U-bolts, and they're going to be on both sides. I believe they're holding the wheel sensor down. All right, next we're going to use a 15/16 socket to get these nuts off. Once I get the U-bolts removed here from the driver's side, I'm going to go ahead and go through the same steps on the passenger side. All right, next up we're going to be using a 15mm wrench and an 18mm socket to get the lower shock off. And I'm doing this on both the passenger and the driver's side. All right, now the moment of truth. We're going to lower this axle and see if we can get enough clearance to add the block. Now real quick here guys, we want to go around the truck again, double check to make sure our jack stands look good before we even attempt to think about getting under this thing. Installing the 2-inch block ended up being more tricky than I thought, so I was unable to get the driver's side on video, but I did get the passenger side on video. But before we move on to that, let me give you an overview of what I had to do. Make sure you have the front wheels blocked both in front and behind the front tires, because the emergency brake needs to be off in order to relieve the tension as you bring the rear axle down. You may have to raise and lower the axle several times with the jack to finesse the block to line up correctly. Quick note, the 2-inch block is tapered, so the taller end needs to go toward the back and the shorter end needs to go toward the front. I also had to use a ratchet strap that was attached to the axle and the rear hitch to pull the axle toward the back of the truck, as after lowering it, the axle moved forward, so I needed to move it back into the correct position, and I was able to do that with the ratchet strap. But at this point, I have got everything lined up and fitting correctly on the driver's side. So now I'm going to install the new U-bolts and get the lower plate in place and attach the nuts and get them snugged up to hold everything in place. Then I'm going to do the same steps on the passenger side. Now by all means, my way may not be the best way, may not even be the correct way. I'm just sharing my experience once again, so be sure to do what you're comfortable with. And if there's a better way, by all means do it that way. This is just how I was able to do it. Again, make sure the taller part of the wedge is in the back, shorter is in the front. And we're going to have to come down some more. So again, I positioned the blocks and slowly raised the jack and tightened the ratchet strap as needed to keep everything aligned. Once I got everything in place, I installed the new U-bolts, lower plate, and just snugged the bolts up, not too tight, just in case there are any other adjustments that we may need to do while installing the shocks. At this point, I have both sides with the blocks and U-bolts installed. Now I will install the shocks on both sides. Now I'm mounting the shock to the lower mount, and I will be using a 15mm and 18mm socket and wrench for the nut and bolt to install the shock to the lower mount. All right, now we're going to torque this lower bolt to 66 foot-pounds. Okay, so for our U-bolts, we're going to do a crisscross pattern. We're going to start with this corner first, tighten it a little bit. Then we're going to move to this corner, tighten it a little bit. back to this corner, tighten it a little bit, and then this corner tighten a little bit, and continue to do that crisscross pattern until we get them pretty good and cinched down, and then we'll torque them up. And I'm kind of aligning this bottom plate with where I can see it was resting on the axle before, so I know it was kind of in the position where it was from the factory. You could always mark it if you wanted to before you take the stock bolts off. Alright, now that we've got the bolts snug down, we're going to want to torque them. And according to Superlift, we're going to want to torque them down to 185 foot-pounds. Alright, now let's torque down the other side. Alright, now that we have all of that done for both sides, now we can reattach the wire for the wheel sensors on both sides. Okay, now that we have everything installed except for the wheels, Superlift suggests that you hang the axle and spin the drive shaft to make sure there is no binding. I was able to do this with some help by turning the drums. It may be easier to do this with the wheels on, but I didn't have enough clearance off of the ground to do it that way. Anyway, all is good now and I can install the wheels. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload a new video. Don't forget to hit that like button, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.